Good morning, everyone. So, today's thought of the day is you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. We already understand this. We don't need to be great to start something, and we should start it first, then automatically we will be great. Okay, so let's. It's about today's editorial is about floods and foes. Floods, we are aware of this already, and foes means enemies. Okay, we are going to discuss about floods and enemies. Okay, on Pakistan floods and Indian response. India and Pakistan are best placed to help each other during natural disaster. So here, the author is talking about Pakistan floods. The flood of Pakistan impact badly the people who live in Pakistan and India. So India can easily help those people because we are neighbor of Pakistan. So the author is talking about that India and Pakistan are best placed to help each other during this natural disaster flood. Okay, so let's go to the first para. I think you guys are getting a good idea about it. Yeah, many people die in Pakistan because of this flood. Okay, so let me start. In the first para, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's message in a tweet on Monday evening expressing condolence to the victims of the flooding in Pakistan. So our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi he already tweeted on Monday evening. He expressed his condolence towards the victims of flood in Pakistan. Is a welcome gesture, especially after weeks of silence over what has been one of the worst natural disaster in the neighborhood in recent times. So, in our neighborhood, that is in Pakistan, the case of natural disaster is worst. It's impact badly to the people who live in Pakistan, and that's why our honorable Prime Minister expresses condolence towards them. And this is all about this para. So let's start next para, please. So what condolence means? Condolence is an expression of sympathy, especially on the occasion of the death of a patient's relative or close friend. And because of this flood, I think around 1,100 people died in died in Pakistan. So it's not a good news for us. Okay, so next para we are going to read about the flood have also affected standing crops, and as the water recede, fears of disease as well as food shortages are expected to rise. So because of this flood, standing crops affected badly in Pakistan, and whenever crops affected, then there's some food shortages happen, and if we don't have food, then how can we easily survive, right? So this is a question mark in Pakistan right now, like how they will survive if they will not have any food. And fears of diseases also increase. We are aware of this already. Whenever there's flood, most of the animal died, and because of those animal after some time bacteria and all increase, and the cases of disease are increased. Okay, in addition, the worry that the devastating flood have been caused due to climate change is a worry for all of South Asia, one of the world's regions most vulnerable to global warming. So devastating flood means destroying floods have been caused due to climate change. We are aware of that in South Asia. Because of climate change, this flood happen every year, and this global warming vulnerable. I already in my previous editorial also I discussed the meaning of vulnerable. It means weakness. Because of global warming and all, this flood happen, and nowadays flood impact badly in all over South Asia. Okay, so let's go to the next para, please. Okay, on Tuesday, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres launched a global appeal for aid to Pakistan. So on Tuesday, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres launched a global appeal to help Pakistan that he said that had been hit by a monsoon on steroids, indicating unnatural climate patterns. He appealed everyone should help Pakistan. I mean, every neighbor country should help Pakistan because their condition is really worse nowadays, indicating unnatural climate patterns. Countries such as the UK, the US, China, the UAE, Qatar, and Turkey have already dispatched aid to Pakistan. So here the author mentioned about some countries like the UK, the US, China, the UAE, Qatar, and Turkey already helped Pakistan. And let me share one thing here. Like, if we concentrate on this thing, then we came to know that before UK, US, and UAE, da is used, and before China, there's not da. Okay, so what's the reason behind this? Whenever we use those abbreviation like United Kingdom in as UK, that time we need to use da before that. I think you guys are aware of this. Okay, and many others have promised help while the IMF announced a $1.1 billion bailout trans on Tuesday. So in this para, author discussing about like about those countries who already helped Pakistan, and IMF also announced to help, and they will give $1.1 bailout, a billion bailout, as part of ongoing negotiations with a country that is already steeped in an economic crisis, and those countries help Pakistan, and their economy is also already not that good. So, and because of this flood, their economy badly impacted. So we should help Pakistan. Okay, so let's go to the next para. Okay, given that the crisis will only depend at this point, Pakistan Finance Minister Miftah Ismail also said on Monday that he may propose lifting the trade ban imposed on India after the Jammu Kashmir recognition in 2019, so as to import Indian vegetable and essential commodities. So in this para, uh, the author mentioned about the finance minister of Pakistan, Miftah Ismail. He also said on Monday that he may propose lifting the trade ban imposed. He will lift that trade ban imposed, uh, which uh, which take on after the Jammu Kashmir recognition in 2019. And he if finance minister Miftah Ismail uh, leave that trade ban, after that we Indian can easily import vegetable and essential commodities to Pakistan, so it will be helpful for Pakistan. So that's why he will take that step. Okay, so next para please. Okay, thus far Islamabad has only made exceptions for pharmaceutical imports from India during the COVID-19 pandemic and India's humanitarian aid to Afghanistan. So here the author is talking about Islamabad has only made exceptions for pharmaceutical imports from India during COVID-19 and India's humanitarian help to Afghanistan. It means help. Despite the poor state of India-Pakistan ties, both New Delhi and Islamabad must put aside their domestic consideration and chase the movement to help those stranded in the flooding as best they can. We are aware of that India and Pakistan ties is not that good. It's really poor. and because of terrorism and all. But both Delhi and Islamabad must put aside their domestic consideration, and uh, they will they are ready to take the help from India. Okay, because their condition is really bad right now. I think over 33 million people affected in uh, Pakistan right now because of this flood, and around 1100 people died because of this flood. Okay, so let's go to the next para. India cannot pride itself as being the first responder in the neighborhood as it has been for Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Maldives and Afghanistan. If it fails to see the suffering right at its land boundary with Pakistan, it would be childish and short-sighted of Pakistan to reject an opportunity to lift the trade ban with India that has only had its own interest, and to give up a source of affordable supplies at a time of such calamity. Calamity means disaster. So India cannot pride itself as being the first responder. Now, if we have to talk about the neighborhood of India, those are like Nepal, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and Afghanistan. That we already try to help them, and if it fails to see the suffering of Pakistan, then it will not that good. So, if Pakistan finance minister will um, cancel that trade ban with India, then definitely we can help them by giving some vegetable, we giving food and medicine and all, and that has only had its own interest. And to give up, we should help them affordable by giving some affordable supplies at this time of disaster or calamity. Okay, so let's go to the next para. And it would be both tragic and ridiculous if the enmity between the two countries would not allow them to work together at a time such as this, even as their government allow their cricket teams to play each other for financial consideration. So, if mm, that trade ban will not end, then India we won't be able to help Pakistan. So, in this tragic and ridiculous condition, if these two countries, I mean India and Pakistan, would not allow them to work for each other, then it will not good. Even the author mentioned about the cricket match which play between India and Pakistan. Why it's placed just to so that it will help their financial conditions. Okay. So let's go to the next para. Significantly, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif are due to travel to Uzbekistan in September for the SCO summit, while a more lasting dialogue that has been suspended between the two countries for nearly a decade over the terrorism issue is unlikely. The leaders must find the time to discuss ways to mitigate the catastrophe at hand. So, Prime Minister, our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Honorable Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shehbaz Sharif, will travel to Uzbekistan in September for SCO summit, and the author is talking about uh, that has been suspended between the two countries for nearly a decade over the terrorism issue. Because of terrorism issue, the bond between these two countries are not that good, and is unlikely the leaders must find the time to discuss way to mitigate the catastrophe at hand. So this is the time we should, I mean, both countries should talk, and uh, as an Indian, we should try our best to help our neighborhood country. Okay, so let's go to the next para. Here in this, we can easily, here in this picture, we are able to see our Honorable Prime Minister and the Prime Minister of Pakistan. Okay, the next para, please. Okay, so this is the end of this editorial session, and I think it's quite easy to understand for all. The sentences are not that tricky, and if we read it, then we are easily able to understand. And what about the tone of the editorial? So, so I want to ask you guys, like anyone who would like to tell about today's tone of editorial, or is there anyone who would like to tell about today's tone of editorial? Okay, yes, unfathomable.
So, like, talking about the tone, it's completely analytical because the author or the writer here is trying to analyze the situation that plays in Pakistan. Like, initially talking about the floods that have taken place and how every country is providing financial assistance, even the various international organizations. And they're just analyzing the entire scenario between the relation of India and Pakistan. So, a proper analysis has been given about the floods that have taken place and what are the future prospects.
May I share the tone of editorial?
Thanks a lot, Unfathomable, for your suggestion. So, Unfathomable, would you like to express some of the para of this editorial, or anyone who would like to express?
Okay, I can. Yes.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Thank you.
Which one?
Anyone, whatever you want to express. Uh,
Okay, yeah. So yes, I can give like a brief or the crux of the entire editorial. Like she explained it quite well, but I'll just give you the basic gist of it. So recently there has been a flood that that happened in Pakistan, and the entire editorial is about the floods that have taken place and what, like, though now the flood is not there, but the after effects of that have been highlighted. That we know that when a flood comes in a country, then there are many loss of lives, places, and the disease spread of diseases is there. And yes, a country like Pakistan, whose economic and financial condition is not that good, and then a calamity occurs, so it has a lot of disadvantages to it. Because firstly they are trying to highlight like what is the country suffering because of it. Okay, financially it's not that good, economy is already not that good, and the inflation is rising already. And secondly, the it has already been written there about the global warming that's been there. So this is also a major concern for South Asian countries, because we people who reside in South Asia, here the tendency of global warming is quite high as compared to the other parts of the world. So this is a serious concern for we India as well. And then the secondly, the problems that Pakistan is facing, like there has been loss of lives and property there, and then the crops have been destroyed, and now they need financial assistance, and the economic condition is also not stable. So at that point of time, we do know that we don't have a good relation with Pakistan. And if India is giving a helping hand to it, we should do it in a manner that we should try to help them despite the inhibitions we have with that country. And secondly, they are saying that Pakistan should not act churlish, if you read there. So, churlish means like ill mannered or not thinking about a future possibility. In the sense that if India is trying to help Pakistan, Pakistan should not feel like, no, this is our enemy, we should not take help. But they need to realize that right now, whatever help, if any nation or country is giving, they should provide. And that is why certain exceptions have been there. Like if you had read, they talked about the various trade barriers that were there, and Pakistan has tried to nullify them for this point of time, because financial assistance and assistance in the form of goods and services have been is also being given by India to Pakistan. So this is what they were talking about. And yes, we have the meeting of the summit that's been going on, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit. So there will be a meetup then, and yes, the United Nations head Antonio Guterres, has also tried to provide financial assistance and talked about the various problems that they've been facing. And the IMF has also given some monetary benefits, what we call as bailouts. So this is what they are saying. And yes, it's very much important that here at this point of time, we should forget about the bad terms we have with the country, but try to help them. It's not because they uh, they are our neighbors, but as a form of humanity also we should come and help them. So that's what the editorial is all about, I think.
Uncontrollable. May I ask you one thing?
Yes, sir.
Thanks a lot,
I
Unmanable.
just wanted to ask that you mean to say that India should help Pakistan or not?
See, I am not saying anything, okay? It's what the editor is saying. I'm just trying to generalize or just give you a brief that yes, India needs to help because right now, and
In
Pakistan
your
should
in
actually.
your look. In your personal opinion, that what do you think that we should help Pakistan or not? That's what my question is.
I'm sorry to interrupt, okay, but it's an editorial session that's going on. We'll have a discussion after it. So let the session end first, and then we can discuss it as a generalized topic. Not putting forward my views right now. I'm just giving the crux of it. Yes, Scarlett, you can continue. I'm done.
Yes, Unmanable. Yeah, thanks a lot for explaining everything. Thanks a lot. It was amazing. Okay, so this is the end of today's session. Now you guys can discuss about this topic.
And yeah,